Am I the asshole for refusing to let my in-laws stay with us again?
My husband, 34M, and I, 31F, recently threw a birthday party for our 3-year-old daughter.
We also have 2 other littles ones in the house, 2F and 1M.
My husband's dad decided that he wanted to stay with us for the party.
He brought his wife, my Bill, and my Sil. We were hosting almost 100 people in our house. I ordered most of the items we needed for hosting, serving purposes and had the food catered. All we needed to do on the day of was move around our home to accommodate the tables, chairs, hosting equipment and set everything out.
My father-in-law decided to spend most of the day in his room and away from the setup. His wife was constantly walking around and complaining about being asked to stay quiet since the baby was napping.
As I was running around carrying large tables, moving furniture, decorating, watching children, etc.
My husband's family was calling me mean names behind my back while also being no help at all, not even hanging out with the kids that they were supposedly there to see. After the party, my family stuck around to help clean up.
My husband's family also stuck around, apparently just to judge.
My Phil, his wife, Sil, and brother-in-law all stayed out of the way and napped while we cleaned up. My mother-in-law and her husband sat around and watched my family clean up. After my mother-in-law and her husband left, 3 hours after the party ended, they were apparently talking about how weird it was that my family was helping and how gross it was that everything needed to be cleaned right away. They said that my kids are probably going to have problems as they grow up since I keep them in such a sterile environment. My house is in no way perfect, but after hosting that many people there is definitely some cleaning to do before letting 3 under 3 run around the house again.
I told my husband that his family is no longer allowed to stay with us when they're in town for events and they need to leave when the event is done. I'm tired of feeling judged in my own space. He says I'm being too harsh and that they're just not as clean as we are. He thinks since they didn't actively hinder us and didn't make these comments directly to me, I should just brush it off. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. My husband's family also stuck around, apparently just to judge. Not okay. If you can't get off your $1 to help, at least be gracious to your hosts. My husband's family was calling me mean names behind my back. Even less okay. I'm tired of feeling judged in my own space.
You're not being too harsh. If your husband can't rein his family in, then they don't get to stay.
You don't need your kids overhearing their BS as they get older either.
Not the asshole, but why are you throwing a party with almost 100 people for a 3-year-old?
Your husband seems to need a lesson on partnership. Not the asshole.
Your husband needs to lay down the law with his family.
No bad-mouthing you or your family.
Period. What do you mean your Phil decided to stay?
Was he invited or did he just decide? Not the asshole.
Either way it's your home as well, so unless you both agree it's okay to have someone stay with you, then it needs to be agreed between you and your husband first, regardless of who it is.
Not the asshole. 1. Every right not to be judged in your own home. 2.
Why the fuck is it weird that your family helped? Like da fuck? That's what family does.
3. Commenting that the kids will have issues is just ridiculous and unfounded.
Just because they are slobs doesn't mean everyone else has to be.
4. Boundaries seem like a healthy thing to set here. Not the asshole. Folks who can't follow the rules when they are a guest in someone else's house are immature as hell. Why isn't the husband speaking with them about their behavior?
Given their snarky comments, it seems like he needs to be the one to let them know they are no longer welcome to stay over and why that is.
Am I the asshole for not helping out my half-brother financially?
Not in the US. When I, 23 female, was 15, my dad cheated on my mom. It was a messy divorce and hurted me deeply as they always had a loving marriage. My mom sank into depression and was emotionally unavailable for me. My paternal grandfather stepped in and forced my dad to transfer most of his valuables, properties and money under my name, with grandfather acting as my guardian. Grandmother passed when I was 11. My dad had a well-paying job, so he was able to more or less maintain the same lifestyle. He married his affair partner Kim a year after the divorce. My custody was 50-50 between dad and mom. I mostly kept to myself when I had to stay with dad. Kim did not try to build a relationship with me in any way. When I was 18, grandfather got into a car accident that left him helpless.
He needed a full-time nurse to look after his daily needs and was unable to communicate with any of us.
During that time, Kim became pregnant. A few months before my half-brother was born, my grandfather passed away. My grandparents were not wealthy, but they did have some properties and valuables and a decent amount of money.
In his will, he split all he had 3 ways: my uncle, my aunt, and me. My dad got an equivalent of $300. Kim tried to protest that my half-brother should get something, too, but the will was clear. My dad told me and her that all he had in the future would go to my half-brother since I already got his share of inheritance from grandfather. I told him he could do whatever as I wanted very little to do with him and would have as little to do with him from then on. I go to a good college and am on track for a very well-paying job. I have very little contact with my dad's immediate family.
A few months ago, however, my dad passed from a heart attack. He left behind a house and 2 cars that are still not fully paid for.
He had some money but not enough to pay off everything. Kim did not have a well-paying job before my dad and she quitted her job after she was pregnant. She contacted me through my uncle and aunt that she is struggling and would like me to help pay for the house and cover some living costs. She had already sold 1 car and did her best to cut out a lot of expenses.
I told her she's on her own. My paternal family now calls me selfish for not looking out for my half-brother. They said grandfather would have wanted me to take care of him as he is innocent in all of this. I just think this is not at all my problem.
Am I the asshole? No, fuck that. You owe this woman and her child absolutely nothing.
Your father said everything he had would go to his new kid, and that's what happened.
It's not your problem or responsibility that it wasn't sufficient for the unemployed adulteress or her child.
But oh wait, his family is pressuring you now?
They can be the ones to send money and fund the kid's life.
They have such strong opinions about it they can start talking with their bank accounts.
Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your father has made the line very clear about the split you and your half-brother will get from him. Your half-brother's circumstance is unfortunate, but still not your responsibility. You can tell your extended paternal family they are free to help out. Not the asshole. Kim was pregnant when your grandfather passed. He likely could have changed his will if he wanted to.
Not the asshole. Tell your paternal family to help them instead of annoying someone who doesn't give a crap. If they keep insisting, then remind them who cheated on who, and that your dad didn't leave you anything after his death, so you have zero interest in that family. Your half-brother's well-being is not your responsibility.
Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. He's not your responsibility. If your paternal family is so concerned about the situation, they can help her and your half-brother.
Am I the asshole for not giving my brother access to an apartment that our grandmother promised him? 20 years ago, my grandmother promised my brother an apartment before she passed away. She registered him there without my grandfather's knowledge. In our country, this is often considered equivalent to ownership rights, though it's not entirely so. My grandfather was living in the United States at the time and rarely visited. My father and brother started renovating the apartment together.
However, when my grandfather returned to Poland and discovered that my brother was registered there, he decided to have him legally deregistered without his knowledge. For several years, my grandfather only visited my father's sister's family and had a strained relationship with our side of the family.
My brother got offended and stopped talking to him altogether.
Eventually, my father and grandfather reconnected, and my grandfather decided to write a will leaving the apartment to my father upon his death.
Sadly, my father passed away,
and my grandfather made a new will, bequeathing the apartment to my brother.
Unfortunately, my brother is an alcoholic, and my grandfather started worrying that after his death, my brother might squander the apartment. My grandfather gave my brother an ultimatum that he had to be sober during his next visit, or he would leave the apartment to someone else. Of course, my brother started drinking again before my grandfather's visit. My grandfather gave him a second chance, but my brother drank again before his arrival. My grandfather then decided to leave the apartment to me because, apart from my mother, only my wife and I kept in regular contact with him. After my grandfather's death, I took care of bringing his ashes back, arranging the funeral, and handling the inheritance matters. The apartment is about to be officially transferred to me, but my brother claims he deserves half because that was our grandmother's wish and because he invested in renovating the apartment. We have now agreed that I will transfer the apartment to my daughter when she comes of age, and he has agreed to this,
but he wants access to the apartment in the meantime.
I fear that he might move in, start drinking there, and I will end up having to pay the bills. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. A promise made 20 years ago means nothing in the reality of today.
It doesn't even sound like she had the authority to make that decision, let alone have anybody demand it be honored.
Your brother is not responsible, and clearly not a person fit to own that apartment. I think you are right to deny him access to your apartment now. It was due to be his, and he squandered that opportunity. He needs to deal with the consequences of his choices now. He made his decision already and that lost him the apartment.
Don't reward him now that your grandfather has passed.
Not the asshole, it's legally yours. In addition, your brother was given conditions by your grandfather, which he didn't meet. Not the asshole. Your grandfather deregistered your brother for a reason. Also, he's allowed to change his will as he pleases. Promises before does not hold as he has expressed his displeasure at your brother's alcoholism. Your grandfather took legal steps to unregister your brother. He had more than one opportunity to show he could be responsible and he didn't follow through. The fact that grandma promised it 20 years ago, well, things changed. He squandered his chances with grandpa and it's now yours. I am not sure why you feel you have to bend to your brother's manipulation, it was left to you. What you ultimately do with the apartment is no longer your brother's concern. Who you eventually bequeath it to is also none of his business and isn't a decision you must make today. Not the asshole, but do yourself a favor. Learn to tell your brother to go kick rocks. Not the asshole. The apartment's in Poland, which means the following. If he stops paying bills, then you as the owner will be forced to pay them. You will not be able to evict him unless the city arranges social housing for him. This is incredibly unlikely seeing as he's an adult male with a drinking problem. So he'll be on the waiting list for social housing, assuming he's even eligible, for years. Courts take forever to do anything, so it'll take ages to try to evict him in the first place. Not the asshole, you do what the will says, end of story. Apartment is yours. Definitely change the locks and make sure you have strong boundaries there. All the best. Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law her job doesn't mean she stops caring about her kid? Okay, so I, 20M, have an older brother Oliver, 24M. Oliver had a kid pretty early, accident, and due to our culture got married to Sasha, 27F, and has a 4-year-old, Lily. They both had to pretty much put their life on hold for Lily, Sasha having nothing to do with her BA in English Lit and Oliver working like 3 jobs. Now that Lily is soon to start school so Sasha can finally do something with her degree, she wants to be a teacher, so that means training and tests and programs, which means she can't really do anything with Lily in the meantime. Oliver took a few days off to try and give Sasha a grace period but eventually called me and begged me to help him. I'm on summer break, so why not? Currently I'm staying at their house to help out with Lily. Problem is, I'm not just helping, I'm doing everything. Sasha says finding a job is basically a full-time job itself, but even people with full-time jobs can say, hello, to their kid once in a while. She's not speaking to Lily pretty much at all, ignores her when she tries. I'm also doing most of her work around the house now. I don't mind doing this for a bit, but this is mildly concerning, at least to me. I mean, if Sasha can't look at her kid while preparing for a job, what's gonna happen when she actually gets one? This came to a head yesterday when Sasha made her daughter cry and then snapped her fingers at me to take care of it. I did it, because I was worried about Lily. But after I'd settled Lily, I went back to Sasha and told her that her job doesn't mean she stops caring about her kid. She called me an ass, said I had no idea about adult problems. I'm just a kid who can't even drink yet. IDK, I'm not sure. She thinks I'm an ass, but I don't think this is normal behavior. I mean, I don't have my own kid, so IDK. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, not your child, not your problem. This came to a head yesterday when Sasha made her daughter cry and then snapped her fingers at me to take care of it. I did it, because I was worried about Lily. She is treating you like a servant, slave. You need to set a firm timeline of moving out, on, and tell your brother and sister-in-law they are on their own. Good luck, op. Pretty sure sister-in-law is going to act like a child and throw a tantrum when you do this. Not the asshole. Sasha is just looking for a free live-in maid. Job hunting is not a full-time occupation.
It takes time, but if you only do it to the exclusion of everything else, then you are doing it wrong. Sasha is just taking advantage of you, and the whole snapping her fingers thing would have had me down tools and tell her to get her priorities right and start being a parent again.
Not the asshole. She's using any excuse she can to get out of parenting.
It sounds like Sasha didn't actually want to be a parent, which is unfortunate for your niece. Get out of that house ASAP.
You're not the asshole. She's not speaking to Lily pretty much at all, ignores her when she tries. How sad.
Does she have some deep, unresolved resentment towards her own child because she exists and that prevented her from pursuing her career earlier?
Sasha made her daughter cry and then snapped her fingers at me to take care of it. What are you to her, a dog?
A servant?
How rude. Her daughter will be old enough to remember her mother treating her this way. Her job doesn't mean she stops caring about her kid. She called me an ass, said I had no idea about adult. You are 100% correct and she knows it.
That's why she went on the attack.
And if 20 is just a kid, why did she get pregnant by a 19-20-year-old when she was a few years older? If you're just a kid, why are you looking after the house and the child all the time? Also, you're an adult. You don't have drink to become an adult.
I had no idea about adult problems. I'm just a kid who can't even drink yet.
Point out that those are optional, self-inflicted problems. If you're immature, then how pathetic is she that she needs you to carry the weight of raising their child?
Leave. Unpaid labor on top of verbal mistreatment?
No way. Also, I can only imagine what kind of teacher she'd be.
Not all parents have the luxury of countless hours of free, on-demand childcare.
They made their lifestyle choice and can figure it out without you. Not the asshole.
Go back to enjoying your summer break.
Most people don't have those after university, so soak it up and have fun while you can.